My favorite brown bag lunch has been the one on university scholarships and admissions. I thought it was really helpful because Kieran and Megan, the two people who guided us, they have both been through the process, they've both been through hires, and they had a lot of information and expertise to offer us. My favorite social activity so far has been laser tag because who doesn't like laser tag? And it's really awesome because Ben and some of the other hires kids, they can give us rides to the deep south, so it's not that much of a hassle getting there. The most complicated phrase I've heard this summer is trans-ischemic attack, or TIA, which basically means a mini stroke.
I think my favorite tour was the NeuroArm project because I think it's a really innovative new idea, and seeing what they're doing in there was really fascinating, and I just think that seeing something that is potentially the future of neurosurgery at such a young age is really, really amazing for me. I think my favorite social activity would have been the games night because it was right at the beginning and it was our first opportunity to really get to know one another as part of the hires group, and it was a really good way to see everybody kind of outside of the workspace and outside of the actual research-based stuff, and it was just have a lot of fun with some like-minded people.
My favorite brown bag lunch would probably be the university program one because it gave me lots of insight into applying, especially for medical school, because that's what I'm interested in. And it showed me that you don't need a specific degree or have to do some specific extracurricular activity to get into med school. So I thought it was really helpful. My favorite social activity this summer would probably be, I think, movie night when we went out to Chinook, just because it was fun. I loved the movie. We went and saw Tammy, and it was just fun to go hang out with everyone outside of like the lab setting and outside of a science environment and just hang out.
The most surprising thing I found in the lab was mostly how not everything would go as we wanted or how everything would go as planned. I remember on the first day we'd get a sheet of paper with a procedure detailing how every little step would go, but when you're actually doing the lab, when you're actually doing the procedures, you'd see how not everything would go how you would, and you'd have to do a lot of troubleshooting to fix those issues. My favorite brown bag lunch was probably the career panel because being able to meet and talk with these extremely high-ranking people in various different fields of medicine and science is really eye-opening because they give you insight into what kind of career options you can go into and what kind of deeper levels of science there are beyond just this, what we're doing here at Hires.
The most interesting thing I learned this summer was probably how the scientific steps and methods worked in science research. We had to start from the beginning and work our way through, then modify our steps to make it more statistically plausible and to make it relevant to the data we were studying. My favorite brown bag lunch this year was probably when two of the previous Hires students from last year came and talked to us about their experience after Hires, how they got involved in universities and application processes, and it really helped all of us, I believe, and especially me, to be more confident in my application process and to know what I'm doing after Hires and how this will help me as a stepping stone.
One of my most interesting experiences in the lab this summer was probably the rabbit surgery I got to watch on my first day in the lab. So that was pretty exciting. Other than that, there are usually some frog dissections going on. One time I got to see the inside of a rabbit knee with osteoarthritis, so that was neat. My favorite brown bag lunch this summer was probably the one about university programs, especially the portion on biomedical engineering I found rather interesting because that's something I'm potentially thinking of doing. So having an idea of sort of how that program works and the steps to go through it was quite useful.
The most complicated phrase I've learned this summer would probably be PAGE, which stands for polyacrylamide gel electrophoresis. My favorite social activity this summer would probably be the scavenger hunt. My team came in 5th, which is awesome considering there was 5 teams.
I think the most interesting thing about what I learned in the lab was that there's so many different avenues of research and that not every single research position is going to involve test tubes and microscopes. There's a lot of stuff that involves application of pre-conducted research into things that are actually going to end up helping people. My favorite brown bag lunch was definitely the one where we learned about scholarships and university applications because it really opened up my eyes as to all the opportunities for funding that I have as a student.
The most interesting thing I learned was how to keep cancer cells alive. My favorite social activity was swimming because it was just so much fun.
My favorite social activity was probably the alumni night because I got to meet a lot of other higher students that had taken the program in the past, and I got to learn about their undergrad and med school experiences, which will definitely help me in the future in choosing my university. I think the funniest thing was actually when I went to some rounds with some residences, and because I wasn't participating in their review project, everybody thought I was a fellow, so they would point to me and try to ask me questions when in reality I hadn't even graduated high school yet. So that was pretty interesting.
I have to say my most favorite social event this summer was probably hanging out by the river for the alumni night. The most fun thing that I did in my lab this summer was probably painting mice feet for the tread scan.
So my favorite social activity this summer was probably when we all went swimming, because I think it was towards the end of the program, so everybody had already gotten to know each other fairly well, and we just had a really great time going down the water slides and swimming together. A unique experience for me this summer was getting the opportunity to live on residence at the University of Calgary with 2 other students, and I really enjoyed that experience. It really gave me a taste of what it would be like to live on residence for my first year of university, and it was really easy to get to know the other resident students.
My social activity was definitely playing laser tag. It was really fun, and we tried to have truces per se, but obviously that didn't work out, and we basically just killed each other out in the battlefield, but it was really fun. I think all of us really bonded, and it was just something to laugh about. It was fun. I don't think I expected how relaxed research really is. You can basically show up in whatever clothing you want, you can take breaks whenever you want, but it's still really mentally stimulating because you're solving problems every day, every minute of the hour. But it's great because you still feel like you're in a creative space where you can collaborate with other people and take breaks when you want to, and then still go out and solve really important problems.